Well, Tony, the Dallas reunion is right around the corner.
Man, it's snuck up on us. Can't wait.
So what was it like watching it week to week?
You know, I'll tell you what, man. Every Friday night, 9 o'clock, we were all glued to our televisions watching the Dallas series, which was a big hit back in the day. I actually was a pretty young guy. I was in my early 20s. And I'll tell you what, just couldn't wait to watch the show on Friday nights.
Well, and its a hit episode, Who Shot JR, had 90 million viewers, one of the highest in TV history.
Yeah, in fact, that particular episode, if I remember correctly, was the last episode of the season. So it was a cliffhanger and left everyone hanging. In fact, they even left the cast members hanging because they shot several different scenes, different people shooting JR. So nobody really knew who actually shot JR, not even the cast. They knew of a group of people that might, but nobody knew who actually was going to get the call. And when the show came back, we all found out who shot JR.
Oh, hey, look, it's the legend himself, the villain that everyone loved to hate.
You know, he was hated on the show by all the cast members, actors, I should say. They all loved him in real life. And all of us loved to watch the villain that he was. It was like impossible.
Larry was a very talented actor, and it's too bad that he's not here with us to join the rest of the Dallas reunion cast.
Yeah, I hear you.
But his legacy still lives on, and we're excited to be able to share a little bit of his story on our show as well.
You know what, I'll tell you, Will, back in the day, I was a pretty good shot myself, okay? I mean, I could have been the guy that could have shot JR on the series, but obviously they never called me.
What, you think that you could have shot the legendary JR?
Are you starting to go down the road of another challenge?
Yes, what do you think? Do you still got a good shot now?
I'll tell you what, why don't we line up some cans and see who can hit the most cans?
Sure, I'll give it a shot.
Here we go. You sure you don't want to, give up now?
Nope, challenge accepted.
All right, let's go and do it. Are you ready?
Are you?
I'm always ready. Okay, here's the rules. You got 6 shots. The person that hits the most cans with 6 shots wins. And we're gonna do it on 3. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
We didn't hit anything.
I almost hit this one. I can't believe it. I'm a sharpshooter.
Oh my God, look. Well, it looks like you did hit something after all.
Unbelievable.
But which one of us?
Who shot JR? Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Tony Pomponio.
And I'm Will Steph Wilson. This is a very special episode because many of the cast and crew of the legendary Dallas TV show reunited at Oscars in Palm Springs, and we were there to put the reunion in the limelight.
That's right. We bring you exclusive interviews, close up and personal, with Patrick Duffy, Steve Kanaly, Audrey Landers, Joan Van Ark, Sheree Wilson, and Cathy Podewell.
The rugged soap opera enchanted audiences for over 13 years, from 1978 to 1991, and revolutionized primetime TV. What sets this TV show apart was the well-written and continuous storyline that aired on Friday nights. This must-see series was about the Ewing family and the oil business that was sensationalized with drama and cliffhangers.
The legendary episode of Who Shot JR captivated 90 million viewers worldwide. The iconic TV classic became one of the highest watched TV series of all time, airing in over 57 countries around the world, and was translated in 67 different languages.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible! But did you also know that the Dallas TV show was so influential, it may have even played a significant role in bringing the Berlin Wall down?
Wait, you need to tell us about that.
Dallas was permitted and broadcast on the other side of the Iron Curtain by Romania's leader at that time, Nicolae Ceausescu. And with the hopes that Dallas would paint the Western world as corrupt and morally deviant due to its famous love scenes, wealth, greed, and power struggles. It had been argued that Dallas instead bedazzled audiences on the other side by painting a desirable and glamorous view of the West, which quickly became the most watched TV show in Romania at that time, and ultimately speeding up the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989.
Well, that just goes to show you just how influential this cult classic really was.
It was quite the undertaking just getting this reunion to happen, so let's hear from the owner of Oscars, the person responsible of making this reunion happen, Dan Gore. We're with Dan Gore, the owner of Oscars, and Oscars is hosting the Dallas reunion, which must have been a huge undertaking. So what was the initial spark that got this all together?
Well, we've had several celebrity events here at Oscars, and one of them was Knots Landing. Knots Landing reunion about 4 years ago happened here. We've done it here twice, believe it or not, with 3 ladies from Knots Landing. And Joan Van Ark, one of the actresses from Dallas that spun off to Knots Landing, said to me, I think we should really do a Dallas reunion. And I said, I think that's a great idea. And that's when it started about 2 years ago. And we started up then.
Really, what does it take to put all of this together and organize everyone here in the community here at Palm Springs at Oscars?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, some of the actors on Dallas are working actors. So still to this day, which is amazing for them, that Patrick Duffy's one of them, is working still to this day in regular film shoots. Basing the availability of him really relied on when we were going to do it at Oscars, and then trying to work out everyone else's schedule. And we started with a couple people, but I wanted to make it as large of an event as possible. And that's what we did today. There's 8 cast members here tonight, along with the director, Michael Preece, who's directed over 70 episodes of Dallas. And it's one of the biggest reunions ever in the history since Dallas went off the air.
Without further ado, California Limelight excited to present the Dallas reunion of 2023.
Well, it is an honor for California Limelight to be sitting here with 2 of the biggest stars on Dallas, of course. So we got Patrick Duffy and Steve Kanaly.
Well, we got Bobby Ewing and Ray Krebbs.
In the flesh.
I still can't believe it. I can't believe you guys are sitting here with us.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead. Start.
It's pretty amazing. And of course, Dallas became one of the biggest iconic shows, especially of the time. How did Dallas impact you on a personal and career note?
I would say that it made my career. I had made 5 or 6 movies coming up to this point and had a couple of guest star spots on television, but nothing that was like consistent. And then I hit Dallas, and then it just went on year after year after year. And I was on the show for 11 years, and directed episodes, made a lot of friends, and it was just a huge part of my career and allowed me to have a nice home lifestyle with a wife and children, and I always felt grateful for that.
Yeah, and down in history. And how did it impact your life?
Well, it was very encouraging for me because I'd had a television show called The Man from Atlantis. And when it was canceled, all actors feel like A, they're lucky, and B, they may never act again. I had a couple of opportunities for different shows, and just by random, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I picked Dallas to do it. And it was because they had 5 episodes instead of 1 episode. And it was just a lucky chance. What it did was, we're here now because of Dallas. Of
course.
Dallas started 45 years ago, and it ended what? How many years ago? You know, the original.
30
years ago.
Yeah. 91 was it? 92?
91 or 2.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how it's impacted our lives. It keeps on giving us additional meaningful moments in our lives. And what Steve said, I think, was the most important, is most of our cast members were family people when they started the show. And we were always home with our children and our wives and our husbands and everything on a regular basis. And it bled back into the ease with which we did Dallas as a show.
Right.
We were happy to go to work because we were able to go home. And so and I was on it for, I say 13 years because I did the last 7 seconds of the one season. So, but, you know, I never had a bad day at work. In 13 years, I never had a bad day at work. I was always anxious to get to the set and to play with my friends.
Look, Ray, can't this wait till later?
Well, that's just it, Bobby. Can't wait any longer.
Look, I know I haven't been around in a while, but things are busy at the office.
Now, we got a ranch to run here, and there's a lot of decisions to be made.
All right, then talk to Daddy about him.
Well, I haven't wanted to put any pressure on him. He's had a lot of things on his mind lately.
I watched the series from the very beginning, 9 o'clock, Friday nights, in front of our 19-inch tube TV, all right, glued to the television every Friday night. You two guys, I am so glad that I had the opportunity to meet both of you, because you guys were my favorite characters.
Well,
you know, I wanted to grow up, be just like Bobby Ewing, and Ray was the coolest guy. Ray ran that ranch. Nobody messed with Ray. And every time JR would get in trouble, who'd bail him out? You guys.
Well, Ray tried to kill JR at least 3 times that I can remember.
Well, you know what? We were kind of reminiscing a little bit. We watched a little bit of this series this weekend, because what I did, I watched it all the way through back in the day, and then a couple years ago when it was, you know, on what is it, on Amazon, you know, I watched the entire series again.
Oh, my.
And I just sit there in the evening and watch the whole thing from the beginning to the end. So I started thinking, did Bobby ever put the top up on that Mercedes?
Not even in the rain. The top was down because you never know who might be looking. Got to drive that convertible.
The first time we see you doing that, it's in the winter, and it was probably about 40 degrees.
It was freezing cold. The opening shot of the very first show was Victoria and I in the car with the top. We had
down.
that heater cranked up as high as it would go.
That's right. That's when you guys pull in the gas station there and was kind of muddy a little bit and stuff, and that was the beginning of, oh no.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
You up in the barn, that episode too.
There was a lot in episode 1 that made it interesting for me. I thought about playing the Bobby character when I went to the meeting, and I got there and finally saw a script, and I go, oh my gosh, and here's Ray Krebbs. He's got his girlfriend is marrying the son. He's in the hayloft with the niece. He flies a helicopter. He runs his ranch. It's this Western character. When there were very few Western opportunities and television series at the time, and I said, this might just be it. I think I want to play this Ray Krebbs character. And I walked in there and I told Leonard Katzman and Michael Filerman about this experience. I said, I see myself in this role, and I think I'm the right guy.
Well, you did a great job. In fact, somewhere along the line, I think most of us were so fond of your relationship with Jock Ewing, right? That we're going, man, too bad he's not one of the boys, you know? And sure enough, what happens?
Well, that was also as a result of I wanted to leave the show. They weren't giving me enough to do. It was about the oil business, and Ray had nothing to do with it. So
Right.
Larry didn't want to lose any aspect of what was working. He said, this is a team, and we got to figure out a way. It's got to be some story idea that we can develop. And one idea was when we all stood together, Steve Kanaly looked a lot like Jim Davis.
There you go.
And maybe that's a storyline that we could sell.
Both of you had touched based on your experience behind the scenes as well, not just the characters that you played. You felt like family. And I'm sure there were some good times and some bad times. What was it like behind the scenes of Dallas?
Well, here's something that people don't realize. All 3 of us were married guys with children, Patrick and Larry and myself. And we all shared an interest in firearms. And all of us were hunters, and we all went hunting together.
We go on hunting trips
many
together.
times in Canada and elsewhere, and had some great moments in the field together on those kinds of experiences, and that was very rare. You wouldn't find that in any other television series that I was aware of.
You want to go off camera, you want to still be with your friends.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
the
Oh,
kind of
cool.
relationship that we had.
That is
So
awesome.
like a brotherhood.
It was really brothers.
So I got to ask this question. So we all know about South Fork. You know, we saw the building, we saw the home and everything. Now, when you guys were inside, where was that actually at?
That was a house in Dallas on Oak Street or something.
So it was.
Oh, the original interior?
The interior. It was a
Oh, in the very first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, downtown Dallas,
Yeah.
in the old part of Dallas.
old part of town. And
amazing.
And we
Now it's
only
all-
used that for the miniseries.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's all put together.
over the years, if you ever tracked it, you cannot fit all the rooms we had in Dallas in that house. So, we had basements, we had gymnasiums. It was a wonder we didn't have a bowling alley.
Well, you got a reunion to get to, so thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to meet
Great
both
to
of
be
you.
here in Palm Springs. It's a great community, and
Good job, guys.
we're having a nice time here. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
All right.
Yes, of course.
Bet.
We were able to catch up with director Michael Preece, where he set a record for the most amount of episodes directed. And he was also responsible in filming each of the cast members shooting JR so that nobody knew who did it.
You know, Michael shared some behind the scenes secrets and even real life drama at the South Fork Ranch.
So we're with Michael Preece, the director of Dallas, which is pretty incredible that we're all reuniting tonight.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love seeing, well, I saw Joan Van Ark, who I haven't seen in, I don't know, 30 years, because she was in the very first year, but I did Knots Landing also, so I got to know her. But just running into Sheree and Cathy and Charlene and Patrick. I hadn't seen Patrick since we wrapped.
Really?
Yeah, well, we did a movie of the week after the show finished. It was called, I don't know, something on Ewing's.
How, you know, as a director, how was this group easy to work with?
Oh.
I mean,
They didn't need it. I don't mean to knock myself, but they didn't need a director. They could stage a scene. We'd go in, and as long as you had a bar at the head of the, and shoot across the bar.
Yeah.
They would and find you never had to do a takeover because somebody got blocked, because they would either push each other out of the way or gently do it so you wouldn't see it on film. And so because if they didn't want to stand behind somebody. They seldom did not know their lines. They ad-libbed a lot if they couldn't remember the line.
I was going to ask that very question. How do you sit with ad-libbing?
If it made sense to the story,
Yeah.
we had an executive producer, the guy who behind it all was Leonard Katzman, and I'm replacing him today because he's gone. But he was the best. And one day, because they ad-libbed so much and changed the thing, he put out a script every episode, every 6.5 days, and he put a blank one out. 60 pages of just blank pages. Said, well, you all, the cast, you write so well anyway, you just write the whole script. And that taught them a lesson for about one day, maybe. Then they wouldn't. Then they went back to ad.
Everybody kind of got the
They
message.
knew what they
huh?
were doing, and
So Dallas became a iconic cult classic, basically, and there was especially the episode "Who Shot JR." There was a viewership of 90 million people. Did you anticipate when you started Dallas and you started working with it that it would ever become what it is known today?
I did not know. I told a story about, I was working on a show called The Runaways, and Lenny Katzman called me the first year and said, I have a series called Dallas, and told me what it's about. And I said, no, I'm on this series. It's going to be the biggest hit in the whole world. And Dallas, it won't go anywhere. Well, we made 11 episodes. And then, so Lenny made me suffer for a year, and before I came, you let me on the show. It was great.
So curious, how often did you shoot? What was the schedule like?
Well, unfortunately, we had to finish. Most television shows, you hear actors being interviewed and they complain, oh, we shot till 10 o'clock at night, and I'm working and I never get any sleep. We tried to not finish before lunch. And if we shot till 4 o'clock, producers would come down and say, what's wrong? It was great. And they said, oh, save at least 1 or 2 shots for after lunch.
Gotcha. So we know that they showed the house South Fork, and then there was another location was where like the interior of the house was.
One was at MGM Studios was now Sony in Culver City.
Yeah.
And the house there is like a 3,000 foot square foot house in Dallas, the real one. But we had a floor built on the stage that had like 8 bedrooms. I mean, I don't know where it would have gone, and long, wide hallway.
I can just the hallway, I can picture it.
Yeah, and Donna was living there, and Ray Krebbs, and why would JR being multi-millionaire? They still live with their mother.
Yeah, still live. In fact, you asked me that question when we were watching the series this past weekend. All these guys all got more money than they know what to do with, but they all live at home with mom and dad, you know?
So I also heard there was rumors that there might have actually been some difficulty working with the man who owned the property that the iconic house is on. What can you say to those rumors?
He sold things. He could say South Fork, the ranch, but he couldn't say Dallas. So he was selling hats and T-shirts. And so one day the big wheels from Lorimar were there, and I had a hat on it said South Fork, and they'd given it to me or something. And he said, "How much was it?" I said, "I paid $25 for it." And he said, "You what?" Because if it said Dallas, Lorimar would have gotten the money. Part of it.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much for being at the reunion. You definitely contribute to a huge part of making this whole event a success as well.
It was incredible to hear the director's take and view on the show. We still have several more interviews coming up with the iconic Audrey Landers and Joan Van Ark. That is coming up later on.
Yes, before that, we also want to recognize that the show had a very long running. For over 13 years, many characters had come and gone to keep the story fresh and exciting.
We had a chance to sit down with Sheree Wilson, who played April Stevens Ewing, and Cathy Podewell, who played Callie Harper Ewing, the second wife of J.R. Ewing. Both ladies contributed to the spicy and exciting storyline. Okay, folks, I'd like to introduce Cathy Podewell and Sheree Wilson.
Hello. Thank you. Hello.
It's a pleasure to have both of you here.
Thank you.
Well, obviously Dallas became a cult classic and huge viewerships in the 90 million for, say, the episode Who Shot JR.
90 million, really?
90 million.
Yep.
Think about that, especially for the time.
We did our homework.
It was the most watched show around the world at the time.
That's right, and it's been translated in almost 90 languages as well.
There were 3 networks. It's not like today where you've got Netflix and Prime and what. I mean,
And
content is endless. Right, and the internet. It was 3 networks, and you watched it live or you missed it,
Now, the original cast did a few episodes or seasons before both of you came along, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was on years 7 to 13.
There you go.
The last 5 years.
And
I was on 10 through 13.
you and your brothers, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
See, I remember. So,
That's
what
funny.
did it feel like joining? Because they were like glue. The impression that we're getting just speaking to them earlier here is that it was a family. So you guys joined this family. How did it feel?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I was terrified, and so I learned my lines. I learned everybody's lines in any scene I was doing. I'm like Larry. I was like, he goes, "Do you know your jokes?" So I said, "Yeah, I know my lines. I know your lines." And he goes, "Oh," and so, at
like,
one point he
"Want me to
tested me, and I went.
Oh,
he goes,
no.
"You really do know my line." And he said, relax. We're one big family, and it was like that from Jumpstart. It was. Linda is an angel that still has wings. She's just somehow still on Earth. Patrick is the funniest guy on Earth. Larry, Kenny. I mean, it was
Magical. It was magical.
Yes.
It was.
And they're so welcoming and so loving, and it's just
to come on to an iconic show.
yourself every day.
Yeah,
going,
absolutely.
is this really happening to me?
Which leads us to one of our questions, like how did Dallas really impact your lives? Both on a personal and even career level.
Well, I started watching in high school. So and I told Larry that, and he goes, "Excuse me."
Yeah, like don't say that again, ever.
Don't ever say that again. I was like, no, but I was a huge fan. I was a huge fan first, and so.
Oh, how cool is that to be a huge fan and all of a sudden you're in the show?
Oh, and I had so much awe, and I revered, their talents, their characters. I just, it was a dream come true. It is a dream come true still.
Absolutely. And now all these years later to look back and go, oh my gosh, I was on that show. Like it's even reflecting upon it's even more meaningful in some ways that
you know.
Well, you both obviously had encounters with J.R. Ewing,
Yes.
who everybody
Oh, yes.
loved to hate, and then the rest of the
delicious.
cast.
And we
you know.
love to love him.
Yes. Love to hate him.
Kathy and
love to love him.
Sheree.
Yes.
Kathy and Sheree. Love,
Yes.
yes. So it was hard to hate him.
Well, on that note, well, enjoy the reunion.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Well,
Nice
thank
talking
you.
to both
So
of you.
much.
And
Thank you
yeah,
so much for
enjoy-
joining us.
Yeah.
I
Thanks.
really appreciate
Enjoy
it.
this
Thanks,
night.
guys.
And enjoy the rest of your evening.
It was heartwarming and endearing to hear both Sheree and Kathy speak so fondly of Larry Hagman, who played the legendary character of JR. Did you know that Larry Hagman is the only actor to appear in every single episode?
Well, I got to admit, I think that was by design because literally everyone, every episode, what is JR going to do next? But of course, the actor himself, Larry Hagman, was a man of heart and had touched many people beyond the cast and crew of Dallas.
We found a local legend, Chuck DeVitis, who was friends with Larry and was gifted a rare belt buckle from him personally. That sounds really cool, so let's hear from him.
So, Chuck, we have an episode here where we're kind of tied in with this Dallas reunion that's going to be going on at Oscars in Palm Springs.
Right.
And come to find out, you have a great story in regards to your friend, Larry Hagman.
On occasion, I'd run into him at the Baja Cantina in Malibu when he wasn't on set. And this one day I was in there, we drank on the side. He walked in, there was a taco bar, chips, salsa. Larry would kind of hold the court there. So one day I go in and I notice he has his belt buckle on. And I go, Hag, and I said, I like that buckle. He said, you like this buckle? I said, yeah. He says, you know what? He says, my good buddy, Joe Duncan. No, I don't remember if he said Joe Duncan or my good buddy had this made for me. He says, as he was taking it off like this.
And you're wearing the belt buckle today.
Yes.
Wow.
I've been wearing it since 1981.
Oh my
He
goodness.
took it off. He says, my good buddy, J.R. Duncan had this made for me. He said, I never liked that son of a bitch anyway. I like you better, it's yours.
He gave you the
And
belt
he gave me
buckle.
the buckle. And I've been wearing it since 1981.
So here's something else that you had mentioned to me in our conversation regarding this, is that this is the only original belt buckle.
This is what he told me when he gave it to me. I didn't pay any attention to it whatsoever. I guess Duncan decided to distribute it, make copies, and Val looked it up on Google and the whole thought. And sure enough, there's a buckle, same, everything, except for the trademark on the back. Yes. The
One of a
trademark
kind.
was different. So I think what Lorimar Productions did was replicated them, and there's a whole bunch of them. But this was an original, according to Larry, as he handed it to me in person.
Wow. Chuck, thank you so much.
Always
Appreciate the
always
story.
good to see you guys.
Last but not least, we would like to be hearing from some of the iconic ladies of Dallas, Audrey Landers and Joan Van Ark. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Joan Van Ark as well as Audrey Landers here with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great to be here.
Well, so it's a special day here in Palm Springs. This is the Dallas reunion. So why don't you tell us both how Dallas really impacted your life?
I had been a child actor and a teenage actor, and then Dallas came along, and suddenly the whole world thought I was discovered overnight. And it launched my music career. I was a singer, songwriter all through my teens, and then I had the opportunity to sing on Dallas, and my characters sang all the songs that I wrote, and it launched a whole music and recording career, my multi-platinum albums throughout the world based on Dallas. So it definitely changed my life.
And what about you, Joan? How did Dallas really impact your life as well?
Very much so, because I got the offer to come and do it. And I thought, no, I can't do it that, because as an actress, I do a lot of voiceovers and did. And I was doing all the commercials for Estee Lauder. And they would put me up at the Plaza Hotel, give me a huge per diem, which I go downstairs and buy boots from Bendel's.
Ooh,
downstairs.
I love
It was
Bendel's.
nice. But I was due to go and record for 2 days. And I said, I just cannot possibly handle trying to do a good job on Dallas, which was already had heat, and get to New York and do 2 days of solid, all voiceovers, all me. But my husband, I have to thank John Marshall, ex-NBC news reporter, high school sweethearts. I have to thank him for saying, yes, you can do this somehow. You have to. It's a great script. He was right. And it was all with Larry Hagman, which is the acting partner I had most often on the show. And he talked me into it. They moved my start date, came home, took a shower, and went right out the door to the Dallas set. And the rest is history. I mean, because that company of actors, which you well know, thanks to this celebration that we're having here at Oscars, is for an iconic, once-in-a-lifetime kind of show.
Right. And so behind the scenes, did you feel like you were almost like a separate family? What was the behind the scenes like for both of you?
You know, it was a very fun set to be on. Everyone was really harmonious and they had great sense of humor, but everything was so professional, and the set, the filming ran like clockwork. And it was, I think, in part, obviously, the directors, the crew, and all that, but it was because the actors just had great chemistry together. And there was, despite sometimes you would see in the papers there was fighting and this and that, that was just publicity.
So, you know what, I was a big fan of the series. I remember every Friday night, 9 o'clock, I was about 22 years old, right in front of my 19-inch TV, and, you know, in our living room to watch the show. And I remember everything. In fact, I even watched the show again about a year or so ago on Amazon, and I watched the entire series all the way through.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I know you two really well. And you, Madame, you know, basically, you know, working in that coffee shop, I remember.
Yes, but Valene had to have it.
That's right.
When it spun off, though, with Gary and Val moving to California.
And you guys were Knots Landing.
They gave it to me for the first season of Knots Landing.
Yeah.
I still had the accent, but dropped it. They said, you know, now we think you're settled in California in the cul-de-sac.
Right.
You don't need to do the accent, which I kind of missed because I thought it was her.
Yeah.
And I loved her. And I loved Ted Shackelford, who ended up my Gary Ewing.
And sometimes I would feel so bad for you on the show.
Yeah.
Yes, because, you know, I mean.
I get it. You know, I got thousands of fan letters constantly saying, why are you still with that guy? Why don't you get rid of him already? And, you know, there's something to say for love, okay?
And then I loved you and Gary together.
Oh.
And
he got married actually, I got married 4 times. Different times, because that's a soap opera. You got to keep musical husbands.
You know, here again, as a fan, it would upset me when JR would try to run you guys out of town or get you out of town, because you guys were really great on the show. I was always hoping you guys would stay on, you know? And Bobby and Gary were, you know, tight.
Rivals. Well, no. But brotherly, yes, but someone, because Gary was always the black sheep of the family, so they said, the producers and the writer.
Yeah.
David Jacobs, God bless David, who brought both shows to CBS.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it for taking the time.
We're excited to be at Oscars and
yeah.
the celebration.
Most important, if you can't make it these few days, definitely tell all the listeners, all the people watching, that they should go to Oscars no matter what, because it's a great night.
Yes, we promote Oscars on a regular basis. They're very good to us as well, and we look forward to many more situations like this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank
Enjoy
you so
the
much.
reunion.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of California Limelight, where we covered the Dallas reunion and heard from the legends themselves.
Keep in touch with California Limelight by finding us on Facebook or YouTube, or email us directly at californialimlightps@gmail.com. I'd also like to say a special thank you to Fiesta Ford and Quick Lane for making this show possible. Until next time, I'm Will Wilson.
And I'm Tony Pomponio. See you next time, folks.